During the Vietnam War, among the high-flying jets of the day, the Cessna 37 Dragonfly stood out. This small jet, weighing just 14,000 pounds and easily accessible at waist height, lacked the commanding presence of its contemporaries. Pilots could just step into the cockpit as opposed to ascending rickety ladders to board larger, more dangerous equivalents. 37, equipped with a small gun that some dismissed as little more than a BB pistol in the hotly contested theater of war, was frequently overlooked. However, beneath this modest fayade was a tremendously adept warrior, particularly an aiding ground troop. This simple jet trainer was originally intended for basic flight instruction. No one could have predicted that such a relatively simple aircraft, the A-37, a Dragonfly, would become one of the most effective counterinsurgency planes of the Vietnam War. When the United States Air Force requested a trainer to convert fighter pilots to the new jet age in 1952, Cessna, an American ex-aviation manufacturer, won the competition with their Model 318 concept. The T-37 was a low-cost twin-engine waist-high variant with two Turbomeca J69 engines and side-by-side seating for a teacher and a student. Its design was modest, with straight wings, training wheels, landing gear to free the segue from propellers, and a basic avionics system. In fact, most pupils could fly solo after only 6 hours of training. With over 1,200 replicas made, hundreds upon thousands of potential Air Force jet pilots learned how to fly in this stable, easy-to-fly machine capable of reaching speeds of up to 425 mph. Despite its simple roughness, which provided for an ideal learning environment, the aircraft had a distinguishing feature. The engine's turbine blades, which rotated at 21,000 revolutions per minute, created a high-pitched screech. According to legend, certain ground crew alums developed hearing loss in the upper frequency ranges due to the earplug piercing sound, earning the model the nickname Tweet, even though the T-37 Tweet had already established itself as one of the service's finest jet trainers. It was about to show that it could do much more. As the United States engagement in Vietnam grew, the Air Force recognized the need for a specialist counterinsurgency coin aircraft. The T-37 was an ideal fit for this duty, as its activities included forward air control, reconnaissance, air escort, and, most critically, ground support missions. Looking to buy the Tweed as a promising aircraft, but with certain modifications such as shorter wings, larger wingtip fuel tanks, a minigun, enhanced avionics, and particular landing gear, the first, known as Yati 37D, flew in October 1964. Despite the extremely positive results, interest in the position had diminished by then, and the idea was dropped. The choice appeared firm, with one of the only two prototypes being sent to a museum for public exhibition. Its narrative wasn't over yet. With the program halted as the Vietnam War escalated, the service's main choice for the coin roll was the A-1 Sky Raider, a World War-era propeller-driven type that was difficult to fly for rookie pilots used to jets in deadly and low and sluggish combat settings. By the mid-1960s, the service was going through their vintage-type stockpile quicker than expected. Faced with a shortage, the Air Force returned to the Tweed and contracted Cessna for 39 assault versions of the T-37. The A-37 Dragonfly, converted from completed jet trainers, was a subsonic light attack aircraft capable of lifting its own weight in fuel and weaponry. The model preserved the majority of the original Tweet's appearance as well as its low cost, at roughly 1/6 the price of a McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II. Despite its tiny size, the Cessna 37 Dragonfly outperformed its jet trainer predecessor. It weighed 14,000 pounds fully loaded and was powered by two General Electric J85 J2/5 turbojet engines, giving it roughly twice the thrust of its original power plant, allowing it to reach a maximum speed of 506 mph and a range of 932 miles. Rugged landing gear enabled operations from unimproved airfields, while additional communication systems improved interoperability, navigation, and targeting. The piece of resistance was a General Electric Ju-2B A6-barrel 7.62 by 51 mm minigun positioned on the nose for fast and convenient use. An electrically powered Gatling cannon capable of 3,000 rounds per minute, but carrying only 1,500 rounds, could unleash a devastating 30 seconds of devastation on the adversary, complete with gun sight and camera. This lively little plane was updated to carry Mk-80 bombs by re-engineering the airframe and installing 8 external hardpoints. Finally, a Cessna-built model could fight back. When 25 models were completed in 1967, they were dispatched to Vietnam for combat trials, accelerating the aircraft's development. Lieutenant Colonel Lou Weber, a veteran pilot of the renowned World War II Flying Tigers, created a game-changing plan at England Air Force Base, Louisiana. He recommended putting actual combat into a 37 operational testing, a tactic never tried with any other aircraft. According to Lone Holtz, numerous fighters have shown themselves in the United States. They'd completed their qualification, weapon loading, and maintenance procedures. That is not the case for the A-37. This aircraft flew over to prove itself in combat. After receiving approval, Weber formed the 604th Air Commando Squadron, based in Bien Hoa, South Vietnam, and the tiny Dragonflies were created and shipped to Vietnam in a Lockheed C-141C. With it came 30 pilots with varying levels of service experience, ranging from bombers to transport aircraft. When they arrived in Asia, Cessna employees unpacked and assembled each one. Some pilots and other service personnel on more complex aircraft derided the kit plane, resulting in a nickname upgrade from Tweet to Super Tweet. Weber's idea for the coin roll was to build a primitive fighter built from a simple trainer that every pilot in the service was already familiar with, so it could be placed into action quickly. With no advanced weapon systems to learn, a basic World War II bomb delivery mechanism, and no traditional nearly one-year training regimen, the model was poised to either fail or excel in an exceedingly limited capacity. During the Vietnam War, the A-37 Dragonfly helped establish the standard for lightweight counterinsurgency currency rolls, which were among the most demanding tasks in the service. The type was well equipped to operate from even the most basic airfields, and it required very minimal maintenance when compared to more advanced platforms such as the F-4 Phantom. As such, it was a suitable aircraft for South Vietnamese pilots who lacked normal American Air Force training but were exceptional guys. But the most important reason the Super Tweet slipped mostly beneath the radar of Cold War-era aircraft was that it never flew into North Vietnam, where enemy air defenses destroyed hundreds of copies. Instead, it stayed in the South, Laos, and Cambodia, where U.S. ground soldiers carried out daily operation. The Super Tweet's straight-wing design enabled it to engage at speeds 100 m slower than swept-wing fighters, improved precision and ability to reach regions where larger models cannot. In a dive, the Dragonfly was a small, tough target to hit. Its odd speeds and altitudes frequently confused enemy gunners. During strafing runs, the nose-mounted minigun, sometimes known as a BB pistol in combat, had limited penetration through the dense forest canopy. Despite this, the Super Tweet proved to be a very adaptable aircraft. This sturdy small plane could drop conventional gravity bombs, cluster munitions, napalm, and unguided 2.75-inch rockets. Although it could be outfitted with gun pods containing more small guns and cannons, they were reportedly never used in action. This airplane included 2 seats from the other trainer features. Close support actions are often flown by a single pilot to maximize ordnance load. However, when serving as a forward air controller and coordinating other close support forces, an observer normally occupied the right seat. During its active service, it was the only U.S. Air Force jet authorized to turn off one engine while traveling in non-emergency conditions. Doing this on a single burner saved fuel and allowed for longer loiter times over the target. During its first 3,000 sorties, no A-37S were downed by enemy fire. Combat Dragon continued, and the very adaptable A-37 flew over 10,000 sorties in its first year of combat duty, quickly establishing a reputation for being both hard-hitting and compelling in currency operation. Combat Dragon operated until December 1967, after 5 months and over 20,000 ordnance delivery. Lieutenant Colonel Weber's operation strategy was proven to be effective. The A-37 could be turned around in as short as 90 minutes because the Cessna-built aircraft lacked the huge fighter's heavy maintenance requirements. According to former crew chief Bill McCall, the 2-to-1 ratio of maintenance to flying hours was excellent, and F-101 was around 12-to-1. Give me 2 A-37 SEU and I can practically fly them all day and night. During combat, Dragon lost just 2 A-37S due to accidents, not to enemy fire. Having said that, the type's infinite hours and missions revealed a number of flaws, the most notable of which was the type's limited range and endurance. Taking this into account, the Air Force continued to enhance the Dragonfly, resulting in 577 A-37B units. Unlike the original model, the A-37B was designed specifically for its purpose. After examining all of the flight test combat missions performed throughout the trial, Cessna bulked up the model with more thrust from newer engines, larger fuel tanks, and heavier fuselage, resulting in much improved performance. The 37B was even capable of in-flight refueling, which increased its range and allowed for longer sorties, a key element in Vietnam's long-running conflicts. For enemy missions, this newly improved variant could carry up to 8,000 pounds of ordnance and was equipped with a range of weapons, including bombs, rockets, and gun pods, spread between its 10 hardpoints. With improved armor and avionics, the A-37B provided increased protection and efficacy for pilots in combat situations. The A-37B was widely employed throughout the Vietnam War for close air support, interdiction, and counterinsurgency missions. One of the 37B's distinguishing features was its adaptability for night operation. This enabled the U.S. Air Force to undertake 24-hour bombing campaigns, increasing pressure on enemy forces despite its generally unglamorous missions. The Republic of Vietnam Air Force took delivery of the majority of the A-37 manufacturing run, which included up to 254 aircraft. By the end of the Vietnam War, the A-37 had flown an impressive 160,000 combat missions with only 22 American Super Tweets lost. However, the A-37 began a new career when the North overran the South, capturing over 30 intact aircraft. Because these machines were reasonably simple to operate, Communist pilots used them in combat missions against South Vietnamese forces for the remainder of the war. Overall, the Cessna A-37 Super Tweet was never as well known as other Vietnam-era planes such as the F-4 Phantom and B-52 Stratofortress from 1967 to 1974, but according to Air Force records, it flew 68,471 missions. The specialized attack jet is still in service today, more than half a century after it was introduced. In the following years, Vietnam exported the aircraft to a range of communist states where they continue to serve in coin operations against drug cartels, primarily in Latin American nations such as Peru, Guatemala, and El Salvador, where they're still operational as of 2024.